everyone. Just doing my morning reading in bed. Hence the sort of, the hair looks alright. Who knows these days? And sleepy, tired eyes. But I just started Higher Ground by Anke Stelling. This is translated from German. And holy shit, I am loving this. So this book is, so far, I'm about a third of the way through. This book so far is about a woman who has had the same group of friends since high school, and they're now in their 40s, and their class difference is really coming to a head. I'm not totally sure the details yet, but it sounds like she wrote something very scathing and that her rich friends took offense to, and they've had an incredible falling out. And the thing is, too, they were renting a flat. The writer and her family were renting a flat from one of their friends who is wealthier, and has since basically is kicking them out of their flat. So it's written in such a way that the author is sort of writing this towards her daughter, talking about a lot of her projections as a mother, as well as just looking back in time and trying to examine how she got here, this falling out with her friends, and how she got to a place where she was no longer going to be silent about their class difference. That's sort of my take on it so far. And it's so good. I'm like really feeling euphoric when I read it because I identify a lot with this character. Not necessarily because I have a bunch of rich friends or anything, but I live in a city full of excess wealth everywhere, but then at the same time extreme poverty everywhere because of that hoarding of the excess wealth. And I am someone who is pretty low income at the moment, will probably be, because I'm a librarian, and I see the limitations that I have in my class, and that some people just don't get it, and it's really refreshing to read this, and it's just very cutting. She has a bit in here about DIY and like who does DIY because it's trendy versus who does DIY because you have to do DIY in order to, you can't afford to have someone fix it for you. And then the idea of minimalism versus people who hold on to things because they don't know the next time they're going to be able to afford it. And how there's like this aesthetic of affluence, things like minimalism, and DIY is cool, but only when it's like rich people doing it. She has a lot of like great scathing things in here, and you can just feel her anger about her situation. And like she has 4 kids, and her friends have said things like, well, maybe you should have thought about whether you could afford to have children. And that's also like, you know, people say that a lot, and it's crazy because it is something that is like, that's like a really inhumane thing to say to somebody, because the desire to have children is something that's like sometimes innate in people, and people should have the right to have a family, and you shouldn't have to have money in order to like have a family. Like, we should have social nets in place so everyone can have the privilege to have a family and be healthy and and so she's really turning a lot of their individual neoliberal ideas on its head, and she's being very like cutting, and I love it so much. And it makes sense because Elena Savage, author of Blueberries, which I also loved, same sort of incredible analysis I thought in Blueberries, highly recommends and blurbs this book on the back. And I should also say that I'm reading this book because of its recommendation from Rebecca Eats Books. I believe she did a video on books specifically recommended by Elena Savage. So, holy cow, this is really good. I'm really enjoying it. So many good musings in here, so I'm feeling vindicated just reading it. Good morning, everyone. If you hear crunching in the background, that's my dog eating their breakfast. I am just making a big pot of coffee. Just woke up. Yeah, and I finished Higher Ground by Anke Stelling last night. I could have been saying their name wrong this whole time. Maybe it's not Anke. I'm just trying to pretend that I know German. Yeah, so finished this last night, and I really, really loved it. It very cleverly depicts the way that people quietly deal with their rage every day. And one of the things I think is interesting is how this book uses like daydreaming as kind of part of that. It'll kind of show her like going into these daydreams. One of them was like, okay, we're gonna take the kids on a trip to go see their grandparents for the autumn holiday, and they like, she talks about packing up the car, and you know, and then the daydream starts to get a little weird, and as a reader you don't really know it's a daydream, and at the end she's like, who am I kidding? We don't have a car. Like, you know, she's kind of having these daydreams about things that maybe they could do if they had more money, and also how she wants to get revenge on the people who have been so hypocritical to her. And okay, so I moved over here, so hopefully you don't have water boiling sounds right in the video. Yeah, so I think it did a really good job of how someone honestly deals with anger, because she also has a lot of like, she is like, will go back and forth between blaming herself, and then you can tell that she's kind of being sarcastic about it, but she's also trying to get over the fact of blaming herself for everything. And I think this book is such a great depiction of how neoliberalism infiltrates our minds and relationships, and how we act with one another, and how we justify certain things. And I just thought this was such a smart, good book. Well, I was filming, and then this demon came over and scared me, and now I can't anymore.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
This is my boyfriend, Connor.
Hello.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you, what are you reading?
Right now I'm reading Dune Messiah, which is the second Dune book.
Do you like reading sci-fi?
I don't normally read sci-fi, and I think I wanted to. Yeah. And so I thought, why not just start with Dune, because the movie was coming out. The movie was really good. In case you haven't seen it, we saw it together.
It was very good.
It was very good. And so I was just keep the train on rolling. Still, the thing that I like about Dune and Frank Herbert as a writer is that he is really like a good writer, which I think a lot of speculative fiction or like sci-fi that I sort of read is, it really leans on like, you know, like the world. It just talks a lot about
plot heavy, and world building heavy.
Yeah, it's like world building heavy, but like
the prose isn't that great.
But the prose isn't that great. But like, I feel like in Dune, one of the reasons I like it is because you'll have these just beautifully kind of like descriptive passages where it talks about, you know, Paul seeing into the future, and it's really just far out there. Yeah. And then that'll be interspersed with paragraphs about like turbo blasters and like rocket boosters and like laser beams, and so it has like all that cool stuff. So I really recommend it. I think Dune's a really good book.
Very cool. Yeah. And what book do you think I should read next?
Well, should I say them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think you should read Thomas Wolfe's "You Can't Go Home Again." because I bought it for you how many years ago?
Like, maybe going on 3?
Yeah, 3.
No, 2.
No, 2 years.
2
It's
years
okay.
ago.
I buy that book for all of my friends and everyone close to me. Every time I go to a bookstore.
I'm gonna grab it.
Every time I go to a bookstore, or a used bookstore, I see if they have a copy of it, and it's usually $2 because it's not very. Yeah. How much was this one? How much was this one?
Like
$3.50. This one was $3.50. So I usually buy as many copies of it as I can because people's grandparents usually sell them to bookstores.
I just want everyone to know this is no small task he's asking me to do. This book is over 500 pages, and this is the text.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of stream of consciousness, sort of.
Yeah, Thomas Wolfe is...
He's an early 20th century writer.
Yeah, yeah. He's like a maximalist writer, and like he's like a good kind of counterpoint to a lot of like the short, terse writing in like the early 20th century, in that he'll write 15 pages about a train station and how that is synonymous with the experience of America. And I really love that kind of stuff. I'm
scared.
And I've only read it once, and I read it when I was like 23. So I am afraid to read it again in case it's not.
Yeah, you like his other stuff too, though, right?
I like his other stuff. I mean, the dude is he's a force of nature. There's all kinds of stories here. I'm just going to go off because there's all kinds of stories of how when he was a student, he would tear in college, he would tear like posters off, like student government posters off of the wall, and like write on the back of them in pencil his essay that was due in class that he was walking to, and he would like turn it in, and the professor would be like, I hate you, but this is perfect. Like, I hate that you've done this, but this is the best writing I've ever seen. And I think that describes Thomas Wolfe. It's just like, it's too good.
That's long.
And it's reading. It's almost like eating a ice cream for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because it's like too much.
Okay, it's like really good. So you should take it in short chunks, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you try to do it too much, you'll be like, oh my God, this is 15 pages about an airport or a train station. Yeah. So that can be a little like, oh my gosh, this is self-serving. But if you're in the right mindset for like, yeah, I want to do that, then
Okay.
Was that okay?
Yeah, but I'm not going to read this next.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's the thing in our relationship. I have to never read it. So then you can always have something to be upset with me about.
It's a carrot on the stick.
Yeah, I'm just going to hold this out. I'll read it someday.
Yeah. Maybe.
No, I really will read it. I want to get a different copy that has bigger print. I think that will be less overwhelming.
Yeah, totally. That is probably a reason why it was $3.50.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to read that, though.
That's okay.
Do you have anything else you want to tell the people about books? Like, what's your job? What do you do for work?
I'm a librarian.
You're a librarian too? He's a librarian too.
Yeah.
Weird. Me too.
Wow. If you couldn't tell from your first YouTube video where I said I hate books, and people on YouTube were probably like, wow, who's that dork? But I work at a high school, so I'm a high school librarian, and you work at a university.
Yep, I'm a college librarian.
And at dinner parties, we are insufferable.
We're like a little traveling act of the two librarians come to dinner.
Let's talk about education.
Let's talk about information literacy.
Let's talk about all the problems with the internet and literacy.
We're pretty insufferable people. That's fair.
But yeah, that's.
But we have each other to be insufferable with. Ow!
Oh my God.
Okay.
This is really dumb. Like, people on YouTube are gonna be like, skip past this part.
No, they're gonna love it.
Okay.
Okay. So that's us. That's what we're doing. That's what we're reading, except for I think I'm gonna read this next. So,
Swimmers.
Yeah, it just came out, and I got it at the public library, so I can only have it for 2 weeks.
Peak Picks.
Peak Picks, baby. So you gotta read it fast. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Literal smallest dog. everyone, it's me and Rosie here. I just thought I would open up this package that I got from Blackwell Books. I don't know a ton about Blackwell Books, except for it's a place that I can get titles that have been released in the UK sent to me in the US for not a lot of money. So I had a kind of wild day, maybe a couple weeks ago, where I bought 3 books from Blackwell's. Went a little crazy, so let's open them up and see what we got. Okay, so to get started, the first, ooh, they're so pretty. The first book I got, sorry Rosie, I don't want to cover you up from your debut moment. Yeah, hi. The first book I got was The Coming Bad Days by Sarah Bernstein. And this feels like a very DWM kind of book. A woman leaves the man she lives with and moves to a low stone cottage in a university town. She joins an academic department and high up in her office on the 13th floor begins a research project on the poet Paul Celan. She knows nothing of him, still less of her neighbors or her colleagues. She's in self-imposed exile, hoping to find dignity in her loneliness. She meets Clara, a woman who is her exact opposite, and as their friendship grows in intimacy, Claire suggests another way of living until an act of violence threatens to sever everything between them. So I'm very interested to read this book. Let me know if you've read it, if you've heard anything about it. It looks like the author of Asylum Road, which I'll show you in a second, blurbed it and recommended it. So next up is I got Asylum Road by, okay, I don't know how to say this author's last name, but Olivia Sudjic, maybe, which I have heard a lot of people talking about and raving about. So this is about a couple who drives from London to coastal Provence. Anya is preoccupied with what she feels is a relationship on the verge. Then as the sun sets one evening, Luke proposes and they return to London engaged. Back in London, the past Anya sought to contain for as long as she can remember begins to surface, and the hot summer builds to a startling climax. So I don't know a ton about this book, but it sounds interesting. I've heard really good things, and I know that a lot of other people have read it and loved it. So looking forward to it. Okay, the next thing I got was kind of silly because it is available in the US now, but I liked the UK cover more. Was Checkout 19 by Claire-Louise Bennett. So I read Pond last fall and absolutely adored it. It was just such a rich and exquisite book. That's just the way to put it. And I'm not going to tell you what this is about, because if it's Claire-Louise Bennett, it's probably not really about anything. So yeah, like I don't even know what this could even be about. It's just a woman talking about things. That's what this book is about. So I am really excited to check this out. So these were my Blackwell UK, could only get them in the UK, books that I got. So I'm glad I did it. I am excited to read these, and we'll let you know how I feel about them when I actually read them. Okay, Rosie, say goodbye. What do you think? All right, bye, bubbies.